change has a reason. Baby, let it come to you. Every soul, every season lives outside of status quo.
Hello my friend, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Deborah and I'd love for you to join my little community by hitting subscribe down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. This video started off as my favorite Kmart storage items, and as I was walking through deciding what was going to make the list and what wasn't, I realized that some items that I'd purchased in prior videos and showed you, which were a favorite at the time, ended up that they really didn't work out in the end and it didn't make the cut in this video's favorites, but I thought you might be interested in knowing why, just so that would stop you from wasting any money buying them if you were considering buying them yourself. So let's get started. I've recently gone through a spell of reorganizing my spaces, specifically my pantry, which if you'd seen my last video, I'd gone through an extreme makeover with. We had an industrial style pantry, which we converted to a flat pack caboodle pantry. I'll link the video up above and below if you're interested in watching that after this video. And so I needed a lot more storage units from Kmart to help me organize my space in there. But not just my pantry, also my ensuite and some areas in my kitchen, like under the sink, and also my drawers in my wardrobe, and just pretty much overhaul my walk-in wardrobe, which is large and spacious, but as with any space, if you don't keep it organized and tidy, it can get overwhelmingly messy. There are some areas in my ensuite, which I probably mentioned in my previous videos, that were pretty much an eyesore and were just giving me anxiety every time I went there to use the items or just sit in the space. It was just so cluttered that I needed to do something, and so I did. And I kept going back and forth from Kmart buying more and more items, and so some of those have definitely made the cut in today's list. And some of the storage items that I bought aren't necessarily used in the way that Kmart intended them to be used. I mean, some of them were meant to be used in the kitchen, but I don't use them in the kitchen. I use them in my vanity, or I use them in my walk-in robe. So let me show you my top 10 that made the cut of favorites, and I'll also in some cases explain to you what they have replaced and why they have replaced those previous ones and why the previous ones didn't work. Working from bottom up, at number 10 come the expandable drawer dividers. These are good but flimsy. I don't use them in my wardrobe, as I use the Marie Kondo method for folding, so I don't need dividers in my sock drawer, etc. But I use them in my kitchen drawers to separate utensils, and in practice they do the job, but they're flimsy and don't stay put. So as you open the drawer, they wobble around a little bit. I could probably stop that by putting a mat underneath them, a gripper mat from Kmart, and I might do that going forward, but I'm thinking I might replace them with something a little bit more sturdy. So for the moment, they're doing the job, and that's why they're at number 10. At number 9 come the cotton vegetable bags. These were so cute, and I loved them when I bought them, but for a large family like us of 5, it's just, they're not big enough, especially the potato and the onion ones. I find that they only hold a couple of them. The potatoes are quite large, but if you buy like a 4-kilo bag like I do, where are you going to put the rest? So, it's no point having 5 potatoes in one bag and then the rest in the bag that they come from. So for that, they weren't very useful to me. They're pretty, and if you're a single person or even a couple, they might be sufficient for you. But when you get to a large family, they're really not that user-friendly. What I did end up using was the garlic one, which is small enough for garlic, which you don't tend to buy much unless you're a large family or you shop at Costco and then you get the big bag. And then what's the point of having, 3 garlic heads in the bag and then the rest somewhere else? So what I do, so that I can use the garlic bags and not waste it, is when I buy the garlic heads, I actually break them up and put all the cloves in the bag. And that kills 2 birds, because basically it means I only make the mess the one time when I'm breaking up all the garlic heads. And 2, as I need to use them every time, I can just go in and grab 1 or 2 cloves, the sizes that I needed, without having to break it all up all over again. So with that solution, the garlic bag is actually quite a favorite for me, and it sits in my fridge, keeping my garlic safe. At number 8 comes my laundry caddy. And now Kmart shows this as being used to store laundry powder, but I don't use that because I keep my laundry powder out of sight in the cupboard above in my laundry. But what I use it for is for the dryer fluff that comes out of the filter all the time. I keep the caddy next to my washing machine. It's a magnetic caddy, so it sits on the washing machine and it's very sturdy. To date, it hasn't dropped off with the washing machine vibrating when it goes through its dry cycle. It stays quite attached and it's quite safe. My only complaint, and I think this is more about user technique than the actual magnetic caddy, is that it's not self-emptying, and I find that sometimes the fluff doesn't actually make it into the caddy. It sits on the laundry tub. So I don't think that's a magnetic caddy's fault. I think it's just a user, and in this case, not necessarily mine, but teenagers that live in my house. Do you have that problem in your house, or is it just my teenagers that tend to leave the fluff right outside the caddy when it's just a matter of lifting it and putting it in and dropping the lid? I suppose that's a little bit too many steps. Lift, put in, and then close the lid. Whereas if they just take it out of the dryer and leave it on the sink for me, it's only one step, isn't it? At number 7 comes the 3-tier shelf. Now, I love these, and these are an improvement on the previous ones that I had. So let me explain the previous ones that I had. I had the expandable metal trays, and in theory, they're great because they can fit any size. And as the quantity of cans that you have increases or decreases, you could, in theory, shorten it or widen it. But in practice, what I found was that A, the metal tiers just weren't deep enough for the big cans, and B, they were quite wobbly, so the cans would actually wobble on it. And then thirdly, on the expandable part where the 2 tiers sat on top of each other, there was a lip, so you couldn't put any cans on it, and if you did, it sort of sat at a tilt, at an angle, which did my head in. So I replaced it with this 3-tier shelf, which is much deeper in each level and also has a grippy liner on top so that the cans don't wobble around and don't move. Once they're there, unless you knock them off, they stay put. At number 6 come the food and snack pouches. I love these, and you would have seen in one of my previous videos the Pack With Me video, which I'll link down below for you if you're interested in watching that, where I packed for an overseas trip, and I used these pouches to store my makeup, my cosmetics, my makeup brushes, and I found that it worked a treat because the seal is quite sturdy and it keeps everything separated in your suitcase and your luggage without getting lost in your suitcase. And also when you go in the hotel bathrooms, you just take everything that you need out, leave it stacked there on the sink or on the vanity, and then just pack it up after you use it, and everything is just neatly and compartmentalized. But I also, every day in my everyday life, I use them in my cutlery drawer where I keep my cookie cutters in it because I can flatten them all out in one layer and have them sitting one on top of each other, or if I've got more space, just laying them flat, and I can visually see what's in each pouch. And I also use them for the little food packet closures that you get from Kmart. I'm insert the pictures here so you can see what I mean. And I use those also because it keeps everything together, neat and sealed off. So, sometimes your junk drawer ends up getting really messy just because everything's not corralled together. Well, this solves the problem. And these pouches are lightweight, they're sturdy, and the seal is very effective in keeping everything inside, provided you close it properly, like any Snap-Lock bag. At number 5, it comes the bamboo drawer tidy. And this is so cute and sturdy. I use these in my ensuite and in my junk drawer. In my ensuite, I use it in my drawer to keep my hot hair straightener and my curling wad all corralled together neatly away from my brushes and my combs and all the utensils and hairsprays that I need for my hair. And in my junk drawer, I'm really happy to have used it because it just keeps a different sized items separate from the rest. Now, my next favorite when it comes to keeping everything together and yet separated in my junk drawer is the Kmart plastic cutlery trays. These are fabulous. The ones that I was able to find are the 5-tray one. And I love these plastic trays because they're so handy in keeping not obviously just cutlery in order, but also your bits and bobs in your junk drawer. And I'm obsessed with these. At number 3 are 2 stationery items that I don't use for stationery purposes. One is the black metal bin, which I actually use in my powder room to corral all the toilet rolls together. I used to have, the toilet stick, the toilet roll, the standard toilet roll container where you just put all the toilet rolls in a tube or on a stick and have it beside the toilet. That only holds 3 in most cases, and I just found that I was constantly replenishing it. So with this actual bin, I can actually fit half a dozen toilet rolls in there very easily, and so I have to restock less frequently. At a glance, I can see exactly how many I've got left and whether I need to stock up or not. And the second stationery item that fell at number 3 was the set of drawers, stationery drawers that you buy from the stationery department. In my case, they're white, and in the previous video, one of my viewers suggested that you can actually hot glue gun them together so that when you stack them, they don't wobble out of place. Another alternative to that, instead of if you don't have a hot glue gun, is buying the 3M picture holders. And what they do is that they're 2 pieces of Velcro with adhesive on either side. And one side you attach to the wall and another side you attach to the photo that you'd like to attach to the wall. But in this case, you can actually put it between the 2 drawer sets, and that way they keep in place without wobbling off each other. And last, number 2 and number 1, this was a close tie because they're both extreme favorites of mine. At number 2, I had to put the herringbone white canisters. I love these. They're the white canisters with the bamboo lid, and the bamboo lid is actually very airtight. I use it for my coffee, my tea, and my sugar in my coffee area. And I love them in the morning. When I go there, it's just so aesthetically pleasing and functional that I just, it ticks all the boxes when it comes to what something needs to do. It keeps the food items safe, and also they're beautiful to look at. And I have the 3 sizes: the oval one where I keep my tea, and the tall canister where I keep predominantly the most used coffee, and in the small canisters I keep my sugar and my coffee that I'm the only one that drinks. And at number 1, drum roll please, come the wide and low or wide and tall pull-out drawers. These are fabulous. I adore them, and I kept going back and forth from Kmart to collect more and more every time I was organizing different areas in my house. I use them in my pantry to access items where the pantry is deep. And you know how sometimes you put items in your pantry and they end up at the back and then you can't access them? Well, with these, you can put them in these drawers, and even though they might sit at the back of the drawer, when you pull out the drawer, you've got visibility and access to what you need. So you're no longer stuck with having food that goes out of date because you forgot that you had it and you can't see it. And I also use them under my sink to store different bits and bobs, my dishwashing tablets, my sponges, my washcloths, etc. And under my vanity, I keep all my makeup. And this is where I keep the cosmetics that I'm not quite ready to part with, or that are backups for when I run out with my current ones that I'm using. So those are my top 10 favorite Kmart storage items that I use and that I won't be parting soon with. Let me know which ones are yours. Did any of the ones that I mentioned, were there any of your favorites as well? Thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful and informative. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And I'll see you next time. Bye.